My name is Tito, and I'm the race director at BCRCS, Boulder City RC Speedway. In this next series of videos, we are going to discuss uh, the implementation of our timing system, which is RC Scoring Pro 2. So let's go ahead and launch that. Let's right click on that bad boy. And this is a little splash page. We're not going to worry about that. It'll do its thing. And then it takes us to the landing page. Let's go ahead and just dive right into it. So the big tabs here are the race tab and the practice tab. Um, for our purposes, we're not going to really jump into the rest of those. The important tabs we do use are the tracks, classes, printers, and more tab, the drivers tab, and the create tab. These are the ones we're going to be primarily using. So let's jump into it. Here we jumped into the tracks, classes, and printers and more. So you can see there's a sub bar right here for classes, printers, and whatnot. The important one is setting up a track. When you initially set up a track, we've done that. You can see I got BCRCS. I can scroll through. I have Orange Show and I have TQMA. So if you need to set up a new track, only do so when you're setting up because you're physically going to be at a different track. If you're running different series or events, just change the printer head out. Keep the same track. So here at BCRCS, we run both BCRCS Club Series and we occasionally run the CUSAC West Series races. So this would be where you would change that. At startup run, just keep that at run racers. I'm sorry, enter racers, and then save the change. Let's go ahead and just run through setting up a new track. So we'll put Silver Bowl here. Silver Bowl. And we'll go ahead and put Las Vegas Oval. Boom. At start racers. If you wanted to load a picture, you hit the load picture and it'll bring you to your Windows tab. You can choose where to find your documents. We happen to have our logo here at the desktop. Make sure that this logo is no more than 200,000 bits. Otherwise, you'll have issues with rendering it, but go ahead and add that in. Open that up, and now you're ready to roll. That was it. In this particular case, we're going to make sure we're at Boulder City RC Speedway. Let me remove this picture. Back to where we're at, Boulder City RC Speedway. Once we get Boulder City RC Speedway, then we're going to go ahead and set up our classes. If you unclick here, when you start this up, you're going to see them all. But for this particular day, we're going to be setting up for BCRCS racing. So click the appropriate ones, unclick the ones you don't want, and then you can click this to show you just the classes of races we have for this day. Note that each class has its own ID number, class 1 ID 160, 158, 159. These are unique. Do not start deleting classes. You should only have to enter the class once, create a class, and then you can choose them for your daily or weekend events from this roster. Okay, right in here. So don't get in the habit of deleting the class, because if you delete the class, you delete all the parameters that you set for that class. If you have the same kind of class, but for different events, feel free to do that, right? So we have BCRCS Super Truck and we have CUSAC Super Truck. If we had, for some reason, Tucson ran their own, we could put a Tucson class here where they had a different parameter, right? And what I mean by that is that the BCRCS Super Truck class we run double A mains, and they're only 50 lap mains. Where the Cusack Super Truck, we run one A main, but it's a 150 lapper. So that's where that makes a difference. Let's go back to here. Let's go ahead and create a new class. Um, you could see I have BCRCS Grand National, Sprint, and Super Truck. So I'm going to add a BCRCS Sportsman class. So up here, I'll put BCRCS Sports. Man. There we go. And we got to give it some parameters. So first thing we want to do is look at this minimum lap time. So here at Boulder City RC Speedway, the fastest lap I've ever seen, and that's when we used to run the Outlaw carburetors, the open carburetors, was a 798. So what we want to do is make sure that we set this as close to that bottom limit, the minimum limit, but not too ridiculous. And the reason why we do that is because on oval racing especially, when a racer cuts across the track, cuts track short, he can potentially end up with a faster lap than would be physically possible under race conditions. And that would then be registered as the fastest class, right? We don't want somebody to end up with a 6.59 lap as fast class, get the TQ, and go down as the record, when in reality he cut the track in half. So we're going to set this to 7.9 in our particular track. Maximum lap time. There is no maximum lap time with us here. We do run yellows and red flag race conditions. So we don't want to set a maximum because if we went over that maximum, then it wouldn't register those laps. So say we had put a maximum of double the time, right? So 16, 18 second lap time, but we're on a yellow and we're all going real slow, then there would be laps that don't get registered. Um, Here with the heat race start, we run timed, not staggered. Staggered would be when you start the racing, each racer is running on his independent clock. We don't do that here. We're over racing. Race type, we want to make sure we've got the laps. And then finally the length, we do 35 lappers. Drivers in the heat. I mean, here at Boulder City RC Speedway, I like to see 6, 8 max. So let's go ahead and just put 8 max. And then I don't use qualifying points for this class. Okay, so moving on. Now we're going to look at the attributes to the mains. So main race start type, again, we're going to be timed. And the main type is, again, laps. And a couple of things to note. A main, so you see all your alphabet A mains here, our mains. If you want 10 in a class, make sure that you leave room for the bump ups if bump ups is what you want, right? If you don't use bump ups, then put 10 if that's what you wanted. But if you're using bump ups, down here you would be 2 bump ups and then 8. So that would be a total of 10. Fair enough? Here at BCRCS, we're going to run a total of 50 laps. Keep in mind at BCRCS Club Series, we do run a dual main, a dual A main. So make sure that this is the option you choose. If you don't put anything there, then it's just going to be your typical alphabet mains, A, B, and C, and etc. You don't have to adjust this because we usually don't run more than a double A main, but I'm a little OCD, so I change this all to 0. Again, you don't have to do it. It doesn't really affect it. But I like to see this all zeroed out because that's just what I like. And then the last thing you want to note down here is the start delay. So because we're doing rolling starts and we come out of, say, turn 4, the pole position is obviously crossing the line before the back marker will. And we want to get those all across the line before it starts counting any laps. So we usually use about a 1 second delay or 1 second slower. So we're fastest laps at BCRCS are usually about an 8.2. for the Grand National and the sprints. So we'll go with a second delay. That would assure us that even the back marker cars get across the line, and then it doesn't count that first short lap, if that makes sense. Again, we can add a logo here. Open. You could see that this whole area was in this reddish salmon color. Once you save, it will turn into a green. All right. Fair enough? Okay. So again, we're running just the 3 classes today. And I think that covers the classes. Perfect. We'll jump real quick into the printer setup. It's set up for an 8 by 5 by 11. It prints out the results and the heat sheets. And you've got the option to PDF it or print it. It automatically PDFs it and saves it into a different file format. I'll show you later. We use a black and white laser printer here at BCRCS. So that's what we'll click. And then transponders. Don't worry about the transponders here. This is for loaner transponders. We don't have a loaner transponder set up, so we're not going to do that. And then this tab, I have no idea what it is. We're not going to worry about it. So from here, I think we've covered a lot of good stuff. So this is part 1. We'll roll into part 2, which will be our drivers.